Hey survivors, with 1.21 just around the corner, once again it got me thinking, what else could we add to DayZ to improve the DayZ experience? I've already done a part 1 of this video discussing 19 ideas for DayZ, and today we're going to make a follow-up video discussing all your ideas that you left in the comments. So let's kick the video off with notes, a simple feature we used to have in the alpha version of the game which never made it into the full release. The combination of a piece of paper with a pen would allow the player to create a note. This could then be found and read by other players. It was a small addition which went a really long way in making the whole world feel a lot more alive. I once remember finding a note in one of my raided bases and it made it just that much more personal. I also remember writing my own little notes and leaving them in my inventory for any players who happened to get the better of me, and I'm sure they weren't toxic. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, SteelSeries Sonar, which is built with gamers in mind, incorporating advanced features that elevate your audio experience. Sonar Spatial Audio creates a powerful 360-degree surround sound experience in any headset by using the true surround sound track from games as opposed to simply stretching stereo sound. With the use of SteelSeries Sonar, you can tune out sound from Discord or TeamSpeak separately from your game, allowing you to boost your enemy's footsteps in-game without having to boost any other sounds. You can also use the microphone noise reduction and EQ settings to help make any mic sound good. You can even enjoy tons of presets created by professional teams such as FaZe and OG. It's free and can be used by anyone without the need of a SteelSeries headset. Download Sonar with the link below. Expanding on the idea of notes, we could have tapes and tape recorders. Rather than a written note, this would allow players to record segments of audio and leave it for other players. This feature is already present in Rust and is a great way to troll people. And perhaps the devs could add rare and collectible tapes, a similar concept to the music discs in Minecraft. This would be a great way to expand the lore while giving players something to search for. Could you just imagine the endless possibilities of this? You could even use it to broadcast predetermined segments of audio across radios or PA systems without even having to physically be there. The next feature I'd love to see in DayZ is the ability to upgrade or repair vehicles with the use of resources from the environment. For example, crafting doors out of metal sheets or adding additional armour to your vehicle with the use of scrap metal and wooden planks. It's an apocalypse after all, and I love the idea for the ability to deck out your car all Mad Max style. Perhaps with the addition of blowtorches, this is a concept the devs have already considered. On the topic of vehicles, why are there no vehicle-mounted machine guns? These were a staple of the Armour 2 DayZ mod. I still remember the fear of hiding from an armoured SUV back in the mod days. We already have a Humvee, so perhaps we can expect a mounted machine gun variant. Of course, this would need a lot of balancing. The introduction of more explosive or anti-vehicle weapons such as rocket launchers to counter these are a must. They'd also have to be extremely rare. Perhaps you can only get them in one certain location, or the parts are extremely difficult to find. The devs could even take a different approach to this. The introduction of the ability to shoot out of cars would be really nice. I feel like as a passenger, you're pretty much defenseless and useless in a vehicle. Another feature that cars could really benefit from is keys. I mean, all cars have keys, right? But this doesn't seem to be a problem in DayZ. How many times have you had your car stolen by a fresh one just because you can't lock it? Frustrating, right? The ability to lock your car would prevent this. Perhaps cars spawn with keys in, or maybe you even had to find them. This would also increase the value of a lockpick, a relatively useless item at the moment, by adding the ability to pick the locks of cars. The final feature I could see cars benefit from would be spray paint. This was a feature that used to be in the game with the ability to spray paint certain weapon attachments, and I'd love to see this come back. But what I'd also like to see is the option to spray paint vehicle parts, and maybe even parts of your base, to add a little bit more personality and variation to the game. The next idea I hear a lot, and you're either going to love it or hate it, and that's the idea of sleeping bags, a bag that you can place which will allow you to respawn at that location if you die. This could either have infinite or a limited amount of uses, but I know it's a very touchy subject. I know thousands of players would love this, but it does take away from the core concept of DayZ, that once you die, you lose everything, and you're sent right back to the coast. But this idea would revoke that very principle, the concept which made DayZ what it is today. Let me know what you think about the idea of the sleeping bags in the comments below, because I'm very much on the fence. I don't hate the idea, but I do love the idea that when you die in DayZ, you're sent right back to the beginning. It adds a lot of value to your character. Perhaps if sleeping bags were really rare and a single use item, it could find its way into the game. The next idea is as old as the game itself. I can only imagine the only reason it's not been implemented is engine limitations, and that's the idea of hordes of infected. Currently, infected aren't that big of a threat, especially if you have a weapon or a group of players, but could you just imagine how dangerous a horde of them would be? Perhaps they protect high loot areas or randomly patrol the map, or just add an entire new dynamic to the game. But with the addition of a horde, we'd need the addition of something to counteract it, a light machine gun. This is one of the only type of weapons we don't have in vanilla DayZ yet, and yes, you could argue that an M4 with a 60 round mag or an AKM with a drum mag will do the trick, but it would be nice to see an actual machine gun in the game. We have concept art for a 200 round M249, so I imagine this is something we'll be seeing in the near future. Perhaps we'll even be able to mount these to cars or even bases like I discussed earlier. Potentially you could even salvage the machine guns of the crashed Black Hawk helicopters. How about the idea of carrying unconscious, wounded or restrained players? Imagine getting knocked out and waking up in a completely different location, either in safety by your teammate or captured by the enemy, or having to carry your very own teammate out of battle. This was a feature in the DayZ mod, so perhaps it will make a return, although I do remember people trolling each other by constantly dragging them around in circles. And with the introduction of crossbows in 1.21, I can imagine it won't be long until we see bows. But they couldn't come soon enough. I've been missing this feature ever since it was removed when the game was released. There's something special about getting a stealth kill on a bandit or infected with a bow that's just so satisfying. Models for multiple iterations of bows are in the game, and I like how there'd be more bows than just the improvised one. In my opinion, the improvised bow was overpowered in the alpha version of the game. Being able to craft a capable weapon out of a long stick and a piece of rope is a bit silly. I even believe you could take out a fully geared player with just a single headshot. Obviously this has to change, but I think bows should be a viable early game weapon for self-defense and taking out infected. Another feature I'd like to see are musical instruments. I know it's nothing major, but the ability to harass a camper with a trumpet or guitar would be hilarious. I can already see the fresh ones performing concerts with their collection of instruments in the middle of electro. The next idea I'd like to see would be a dog, a man's best friend. This would be perfect to complete the solo playstyle. Perhaps your dog could take out infected or alert you of any incoming threats. I can't actually ever see this feature getting added to DayZ, but it's a nice idea. One thing I am sure of though, is that if you kill someone's dog, they're going to go all John Wick on you. Another simple feature I'd love to see in DayZ, which in my opinion is a must, is a nature overhaul mod. As discussed in my DayZ lore video, we're not that far into the outbreak, however it would add to the atmosphere if there was a little bit of overgrowth. Perhaps this overgrowth could grow with the life of the server, giving a good indication on when the last wipe was. I just think it looks so much cooler. Boats would also add so much to the game. A decent chunk of Chinaris is ocean and we do little with it. Although the addition of boats would require more reason to visit the ocean, perhaps the introduction of oil rigs or returning Prison Island to its previous state where it was much harder to reach. Or maybe the introduction of a brand new map which is built for boats. Anyone who played Arma 2 mod will remember Lingor, a perfect map for this. AI or NPCs were a staple of DayZ mod. They really helped make the game feel more alive, especially on those servers with lower player counts. And I've seen the introduction of some AI mods recently, and it really got me thinking, why doesn't DayZ already have this? Points of interest that could bring players together, guarded by AI, such as AI convoys, survivors at a crash site, or even AI strongholds. Another little feature I believe that could use some more attention is generators. There's not really much reason to use them apart from to light up your base, which most players don't even bother to do. It would be really cool to see more electrical items that we had to power. The final feature or change I like to see in the game is just more craftable item. I remember an old DayZ series where a player would live off anything they could craft in the woods. A good example of this is the more material mods, which add a bunch of more materials to the game, in which server owners can set their own crafting recipes, and I'd love to see this in the base game. What craftable item would you like to see? So that's it for today's video. Once again, thank you to SteelSeries for sponsoring the video. What ideas did you think I missed, and what ideas did you like the most? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you want more of this content, remember to subscribe.